Six Music. Six Music. Online, on demand.
As you must know by now, all this week, Radiohead have been sharing some of their favourite music with us via the first ever Six Music Selector. Now, I am with guitarist Ed O'Brien. He's in the studio with me now. You are the tallest man in rock and roll.
Well, I remember about 5 years ago, Q did one of those, another poll of the tallest people, and I think Fish is maybe Fish from. Do you remember Fish?
Yeah,
from
Fish from Marillion. Yeah,
I think he's taller than me, but only just.
I've got an even more shocking thing to say. I met someone in a pub in a place called Mark Yates in Hertfordshire with an 8-year-old daughter called Kaylee, named after the Fish song.
Oh, no.
It's true. I said, Kaylee, that reminds me of that Marillion Fish song. Oh, I named it after that. I thought, don't shout it too loud, darling.
Oh, dear.
So, apart from him, you're the tallest, you reckon?
Yes, yeah, probably.
Because you have a different sort of perspective on the band, any of them slightly going bald, sort of losing a little bit at the top? Because you must be looking down on their heads all the time.
Well, we're all in our mid-30s, so it's kind of like the prime age. So if anybody comes into rehearsal wearing a hat, it's kind of...
Well, listen, I shouldn't tell you this. I was in Oxford the other day.
Yeah.
And there was this little magazine. I can't remember the name of the magazine. You were voted Oxford's most eligible bachelor.
What, recently?
Recently, yeah. In this magazine I was reading, I don't know if it was an old, I wasn't the dentist or anything like that, it wasn't the Lancet, but you were voted one of Oxford's most eligible bachelors.
Right, well, I don't live in Oxford anymore, so that's probably why.
You're a Man U supporter as well?
Yeah, totally.
Grew up in Oxford?
Grew up, I'm a typical Man United supporter. I'm an Oxford Red.
Yeah.
Now, I went to university at Manchester.
Yeah.
And I went because of the music. Because it was.
Has it got a good music department?
Well, no. Sorry, I went to. It was irrelevant. The university was kind of relevant. I went to Manchester because of the music from the city. Primarily because of the Smiths and the Smiths and the Smiths, and also obviously New Order and the Fallen.
That was just when it had taken over from Liverpool.
That's right.
As a musical city of culture, really.
Yeah, totally. And it was. I went up in '87, and within 3 weeks of being up there, the Smiths split. And I was into football in the 80s or whatever, because Oxford had quite a good run. But I sort of the Manor Ground didn't really. It wasn't one of those grounds that you were sort of. There was nothing religious about it. And I remember one of the mates that I lived with in the house. The only reason he went to Manchester was because of United. And he said, "Come along." He said, "Come on." And he used to go every other Saturday, Stretford End, and it was like 4.75, and you get like the Football Express from Oxford Street to the Stretford End to Old Trafford. And it was the first game I went to was in '89, and it was against Chelsea, and United lost, and United were playing terribly then. It was just it was the season that United won the FA Cup. But I remember walking up the steps of the Stretford End and standing amongst 20,000 people, and I'd never been to a football match like that in my life. And I was like, before a ball was even kicked, I was
If I'd have taken you to the cup, we could have claimed you as our own.
Well, someone said that about City as well, and obviously Liverpool and City vis-a-vis United, hardcore United supporters are kind of like, the Antichrists, aren't they? But, I can't claim to have such hatred for...
What do you think about this marriage of music and football that's taken place over the last... I think Oasis really kind of kicked it off in a way, didn't they? Sort of like, footballers and music, it all became sort of married and mishmash, and you had to have a team.
Yeah.
And, I mean... Radiohead, Man U, the rest of them?
Well, Phil's a big... they're not really big football supporters. Cos in the last year has become a Borough supporter.
As you do.
As you do.
You do.
But no, I don't know. I mean, I've always sort of played it down a bit. I mean, I don't like the... because we're not like one of those lads bands. I think a lot of the time...
Well, you're quite a clever band, really. When I read the interviews and when I've seen you put, on telly, Oasis, sort of, comprehensive kids, that kind of boogie, football, drinking, swearing at the press. But you always seem much more measured and more considered and more intelligent, your band.
Well, I don't think it's an intelligence thing. I think it's probably a bit more wary, because we did come from, in England it's hard to be, deemed to be cool if you've been to university and private school, Yeah. It's much, you can shout to the, to the top of your voice about being from, being from Moss Side or whatever. And, you know, Britain likes a working class hero. We're not working class heroes. You know, we are what we are. And I think one of the things about us is that we've had to get over the fact is that, you know, as soon as we open our mouths in England, people judge you. Whereas I think when you go, why we found going abroad and playing abroad really, you know, why we've done a lot of touring and stuff abroad is because people don't judge us because of that. And I think that's quite a relief. So I think that we've kind of, we've been very measured in our way in Britain, if you know, over the last 10 years, and
it's 10 years now, isn't it?
Well, it's 12 years since we've signed and 18 years since we've been a band, because we were all a band at school. So.
That is longevity, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
Do you? Because I know before we start the interview, you had a sort of problem. I perceive the problem that how you feel Radiohead are perceived. You kind of think that are you seen as posh boys? Is that what you think?
Well, I think we were, but you know, and for years, you know, people have put us into this, so that they're like they're the new Pink Floyd, and I personally, I mean, you know, no disrespect to Pink Floyd, but I couldn't stand their music. I grew up with you know, it like did nothing for me. It was. I thought. I remember being a 10-year-old and loving what I heard from the, you know, punk and the reaction was to bands like Pink Floyd. But you know, in all honesty, when I looked, I saw the making of Dark Side of the Moon with my girlfriend, and it was really interesting because I've been fighting, you know, I said, we're not like Pink Floyd. No, we're not. No. And she turns to me at the end and says, you are. You are. So, I mean, you know, you can't fight it sometimes. And I don't think we've been misperceived. I mean, I think we've been quite cagey. And also, when you're dealing with the British music press, you're dealing with, you know...
But they've been very good to you, the British music press.
Yeah, they have. I guess they have. But you know what it's like when you're in a band? Well, I don't know. But there's a tendency to, when you read that stuff, to only focus on the stuff that's bad. So we don't read any of that stuff anymore. So, you know.
One more question before we play your first track. I do a TV show. We're about to do a movie next year. A Red Dwarf movie. And tell me if I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong. But are Radiohead fans a little bit like Red Dwarf fans?
Probably, yeah. I mean, a little bit kind of possessive, a little bit
obsessive,
yeah,
a bit geeky.
A couple of anoraks in the wardrobe.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. I mean, maybe it's because, I mean, maybe it's the attention to detail that goes along with these things. That if you do something with a lot of heart and, you know, you do it for the right reasons, which I'm sure you did with Red Dwarf and all that stuff. And people get into it, and you attract a certain kind of person, and you know, you're not necessarily flavour of the month. You're about it's a longevity thing. It's evolution and all that stuff. Yeah,
but at least you don't have Radiohead conventions.
No. Do they have Red Dwarf conventions?
Oh, hit me.
Have you been to it? Have you been to them?
Only in America. All right, Ed, choose your first track, because that's, I suppose,
all right.
We're here to chat, but we're here to choose some of your tracks. And can I just say beforehand, surprising, your choice of tracks, and yet invigorating as well.
Good.
So what's your first choice?
The first track is my album of the year, what I thought the best album by country miles, The Streets, original Pirate Material. And it's the first track, Turn the Page, which is one of the most emotional, uplifting, original, brilliant pieces of music and prose that I've heard.
Great use of lyrics, isn't it?
Oh, he's amazing. And the thing about that record is that I only got it from like driving around London. I live in London now, and I didn't get it first of all. I heard it for a couple of times, thought this is different. Put it on the car and was just driving around North London at 10 o'clock at night. It's like, you know what? It's the sound of a city. And he's managed to do that, and he's eloquent, and he's. Yeah. But the thing is, the most important thing for music is for me is emotion, and that this track, Turn the Page, is the one. It's so powerful.
The scary thing about it is, though, he's from Birmingham, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
but like he captured London.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think I don't know enough about other cities. The only other city I know spent a bit of time was Manchester, but it captured the kind of the buzz, the vibrancy of a big city, and all the madness and all the ups and the downs and the after parties and all that stuff. And you know, that's a great gift to be able to do that, and at such a young age as well.
This is Craig Charles on a Six Music Breakfast Show with Ed O'Brien. His first choice is The Streets. Turn the Page. This is Craig Charles at breakfast. That was The Streets with Turn the Page, as chosen by Ed O'Brien from Radiohead. Ed, how hard was it choosing? I mean, come on. I mean, it's like saying, like, I just did this thing for the Sunday Express. It was all about, like, choose your top 10 comedians. And it got so hard in the end I didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, how difficult was this?
It wasn't hard because I think you know, it's if you think of it like your desert islanders, and it's going to be hard. But I thought of it like I'm off the road. We've just finished touring. I went along the shelves, the CD shelves, and what would I want to hear now? And they aren't necessarily, you know, the best ever, my favourite top 10, but they're what means something to me now. So it was kind of quite easy. I mean, I'm sort of, when you've done, when you've been on the road, you get into that whole thing of you know, you're tired and you need propping up a bit, and music plays a big part of that.
Yeah. As you say, you've been performing across the UK this year. I know you play sort of quite small venues like Shepherd's Bush Empire, and then some massive ones like Earls Court. Where's the best place to see Radiohead?
What's the best place?
In your opinion, I mean, do you like the big ones, the small ones?
I think the best place. I mean, I don't necessarily. I think we can do the small ones, and I think we can do the big ones sometimes. I mean, Earls Court's it was really hard. The second night was good, but the first night was really hard. I mean,
hard in what way? What do you mean?
Well, it's a big room, and it's like most of the places that we played on the tour. Even if you're playing, you know, we were playing some big places in America, but like Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden Friday night, we did 2 nights there. Was rocking, and that was great because you can forget that. You can forget that it's a Madison Square Garden. You can forget that, you know, it's funny when a night's going really well, that room kind of shrinks and you sort of get bigger and bigger in it, and the music and the audience and everything, you know, you sort of come together, and it's more than the room. But with Earls Court, you can't do that. The place is so huge. But I reckon, you know, either Madison Square Garden on a Friday night in New York was great, or
I saw you too there actually in Madison Square Garden. Let's Fly Off to LA and Get Married, that tour.
Wow.
And with Phil Yanu, a guy who directed Rattle & Hum.
Yeah.
He flew off and got married that night. We all got on the plane with U2. He flew off and got married to a girl called Kate Hyman, who was the A&R for a thing called Imago Records.
Oh, right.
Terry Ellis's label.
Yeah.
And they got married that night.
Good Lord.
It lasted 3 weeks.
Wow. It lasted 3 weeks, really?
Elvis married them as well. Right. Now, the thing was, I thought Elvis would play a couple of songs, and that'd be it. He played a 40-minute set. It was about 5 in the morning. Everyone was starting to come down from whatever they'd been on. We were thinking, just get the marriage over, would you, mate? But it's a great venue.
It's great.
And it's better for sound than, say, Wembley is.
Oh, it's way better. It's way better. I mean, it's we to be honest with you, I think we've got a real bum deal in London vis-a-vis big venues. I mean, I think Wembley's. I'm going to probably get into trouble, but
Wembley Stadium, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the arena. Right. The arena's not so good either. But Wembley Stadium was
It was rubbish.
Yeah,
and Earls Court's not very good. I mean, you know, we don't have that kind of. I mean, people just aren't investing in purpose-built arena. Except they had that London arena, but apparently that was rubbish as well. So.
Yeah, I played the London arena.
Did you?
With Robot Wars. I played Wembley arena with Robot Wars. That's every performer's dream to go on and say, "Hello, Wembley."
Did it rock? Was it good?
It was packed. We did 3 shows a day for 3 weeks.
Wow. Is Robot Wars the same people who like Robot Wars? Are they quite similar to people who like
Radiohead? Fans, they're all Radiohead fans. They're all building rows with OK Computer on them. I tell you. We're symbiotic.
All right. Cool.
We share a fan base. It's shocking. Ed, you're the good-looking one in your band. Would you say?
No.
Oh, come on. Everyone said... Because when I was coming up, everyone saying Ed's the good-looking one.
Well, I mean, you know...
Well, come on. Don't be modest. Look, I'm sitting opposite here. I'd even shag you.
All right.
Can I say that at Christmas?
Of course you can.
What's your girlfriend like? I bet she's gorgeous.
She's great.
Is she?
She's great. She's just we're about to have our first kid as well. So.
I've got a little 7-month-old.
Really?
Called a Nelly.
Wow. A Nelly?
Nelly. Just Nelly, yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Is that your first?
No, I've got a 15-year-old and I've got a 6-year-old as well, called Anna Jo.
Wow.
She's lovely. I've got 2 little daughters and a son called Jack, who's 15.
Well done.
And he's 6'2". He's going to be like you.
And he's how old?
He's 15. He's 6'2". He's got size 12 feet. If he didn't look like me, I'd be asking questions. All right. We've got loads more to talk about, but let's play a bit of music. Your second choice is is what? It's the Congos.
Fishermen.
I'm not up on this.
Well, I mean, I've heard this track before, but I've got it specifically on the Don Letts compilation, the Dread Meets Dread Meets Punk Rockers Uptown, that he did this fantastic compilation about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think they were all the tracks that he used to spin down in, you know, West London at the time of punk, and all the punks used to get off on all this stuff. And it's as music should be. It's soul and it's emotion, and it soothes.
It soothes.
Yeah.
Here we go then. This is the Congos. This is Fishermen. That was the Congos with Fishermen from a Don Letts compilation, Dread Meets Punk Rockers Uptown, selected by DJ Don Letts, and then chosen by Ed O'Brien from Radiohead. He's here, very modest, very intelligent, and very good looking. Isn't it? I think I'm going gay.
Yeah, less of the compliments.
It's all right, mate. Listen, a lot of your music, it's a bit like you too. Not the style of music. In the credits, it says written by Radiohead.
Yeah. Rather
than written by, like, you know, Ed or whoever. Do you write together? Is that the way it is, or was it one of those collective sort of decisions like you two made to keep the band from breaking up?
Yeah, I think it's a decision that you know, when we got the band together, we looked at sort of, you know, our favourite bands and the bands who we thought, you know, stayed together and the way they stayed together, and REM and U2 seemed to have it fair. I mean, we took a leaf out their book because we knew in the early days all we wanted to do was tour, get in a van and tour. That's what we had to do. Yeah. The other thing was that was obvious that that when you looked at the songwriting credits, that everybody was credited. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there was a 5-way or a 4-way split between. I mean, I think in U2 and REM it was. Yeah. But
that was quite important, I think.
It's very important because
to keep the band together. But there was a 5-way split with U2, wasn't it? Because they brought the manager in as well.
And I always thought that was really cool. I always thought that it was kind of like, you know, it's the collective.
Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, you know, Tom is by far and away the prime. He writes all the lyrics. He writes most of the music. Johnny writes a lot of the music, and they're presented to us.
Sorry.
You know, no worries. And it's, but then they become sort of, as Tom says.
But no one writes your guitar licks for you.
No, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what happens.
What you wrote.
Yeah,
you know
and you
mean?
go into the rehearsal, and that's when it becomes a band thing. That's when a Tom York or a Johnny Greenwood or a Tom York and Johnny Greenwood song becomes a Radiohead song. Mm-hmm. And it's good because I think then it means that you avoid all that. The worst thing that you can do in a band is suddenly it starts becoming about money. You know, we were a school band. It's always been about music, and in order to carry on doing that, it always has to be about music. And any decisions that you make, I mean, you obviously have commercial decisions when you make, but they should always come secondary to any artist.
To the music,
and that's always been the way. And I think it's like, if you prioritize the money, if that thing changes, then you lose it as a band. And so many bands have done it. And as long as the music and keeping together and, you know, the joy of it is the priority, then you'll be okay.
So basically that must mean, though, that you're all fairly minted.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, absolutely.
Are you surprised by how well it's gone?
Yeah, of course. Because
I mean, some of the royalty checks that land on your carpet.
It's outrageous.
It must be. It must be.
It's outrageous, and it's because you start this thing and you don't think, and you know, for years and years and years, you don't have.
It's a hobby.
Any money. It's a hobby, and you love it, and that's all you want to do. You're happy as Larry. You're on 80 quid a week. You're on PDs and stuff like that. And then around the time of OK Computer, suddenly these checks arrive.
And they must be like the noughts, man.
Well, it's like, it's outrageous because you can buy a house. You can buy a house outright without, you know, I remember in '97 I bought a house, and you know, and I took out a mortgage, and within 4 months I'd paid it off. So. But it's an amazing thing, and of course, you know, that accompanies that I had the whole thing of 4 years of guilt, kind of like not being able to. I know, crazy, stupid, ridiculous.
Why are you guilty about it?
Because your mates are like, you know, mind you, your mates are the ones partying while you were in the back of a van.
Yeah,
so I see that now, you know.
Yeah.
But,
You've seen the light.
Yeah, but it's one of the things, and it's one of the things you have to get used to, and it's kind of like if you haven't been used to money and then you what you mustn't do is you mustn't let it
Go
sort of
mad. But a lot of pop stars do. They start, I mean, they go down the Ferrari route, the kind of, the sort of just like the conspicuous consumption route.
Well,
which you never kind of see. You never feel as Radiohead are going to do that.
Well, because they're distractions. They're all distractions. If you get another house, if you've got like a fleet of 10 cars, they're distractions from what you should be doing. I was put on this planet to be in this band, and to, you know, one of the things that more distractions. Why do I want another house? Why do I want, you know? And you see all these big bands, and you realise that they end up in business meetings rather than rehearsal or writing or recording or touring. It's quite basic, really. And I think you know, I want to keep doing this as I mean you know, I love this thing, and I honestly I would say I'd get rid of all of it. I'd carry on and do the music, and that's what's important.
Everyone at Six, at Six is really pleased that you've been coming in and doing this thing for us. I was speaking to my mate last night. I said, I'm gonna interview Ed O'Brien from Radiohead tomorrow. And I said, yeah, and he said, anything I should ask him? And he turned around and said, well, ask them why they're so miserable. You have a reputation.
I know.
For doing miserable songs. But look at you, you're a happy-go-lucky lad.
Totally.
Got a smile on your face. So why
I think
the
because
reputation?
you know, I think we've maybe relaxed a bit now. I think maybe before. I mean, I think, you know, if I'm honest, before I think we had a bit of.
Was it a cool thing to be miserable?
No, it wasn't. It was a totally genuine thing, and I think we were trying to, you know. I think one of the things that drove us on in this band was, you know, not only the music, but because we formed this band when we were at school, and it was our everything. I was at university, but we used to come down, you know, it used to take precedence over girlfriends, over, you know, over everything, over your family, blah, blah, blah. Because there was a certain, you know, I think we thought that there was salvation in this music. If I was in a great band, I would be happy. And I think I think a lot of us thought, I think many of us thought that, you know, if we became a great band, that it would sort out, you know, our happiness and our social problems and all that stuff. It doesn't. But so you have to figure out what does make you happy. Yeah. But
are you happier now?
Yeah,
is the music any happier?
I don't know. I think the music's got a lot more joy. I think the thing that we've got now to concentrate, and I think the thing about the last 2 years and playing live and stuff is the joy. You know, I don't think there's been. I think what our music before has been cathartic. It's been very, very emotional, very heavy, and uplifting. But uplifting in a kind of, you know, someone comes along, the audience goes like, yeah, that's how I feel. Joy is a different thing. Joy is something that, you know, it's something that you see like in an artist like Bob Marley and the Wailers, you know, that kind of thing. Joy, you too do joy very well.
Well, both you two and Bob Marley did Pain in a joyous way.
Exactly, and I think that's where I hope that's where we're sort of heading towards in terms of, like, you know, being uplifting and Tom's lyrics dealing with you know, serious stuff as it always has done, and affairs of the heart and affairs of the world and what's around us, but dealing it with a joyous kind of, like, you know, which is, you know,
which is your next choice,
which leads on to Asian Dub Foundation, because for me, you know, I
a wicked band, by the way.
Amazing.
Wicked
and
band.
they've just been supporting us, and I heard this.
They support. I didn't realise
they were opening up for us, and it was such a treat, you know, because I mean, for me, Asian Dub Foundation was. I had a period of about 2 or 3 years, about 5 years ago, when I just couldn't get into. I was just sick of all music, and the only thing that kept this was the joy was going to see ADF live, and it made me feel like I was 16 again. It made you know, when you're in a band, what we did, you sometimes hear a piece of music and you could be ultra critical. You kind of like, oh, that production's like that sounds like that, and you forget about what the essence of music. And there are two things: ADF, going to see ADF live, and listening to the music of Neil Young, and they were the two things that kind of like, you know, how do I get a bit of why is that? And it's because of, you know, where their hearts and their minds are at.
I saw Neil Young solo, just him and his acoustic guitar at the Albany Theatre in New York.
Wow.
Must have been about 1993.
Oh.
And he just sat down, and it was packed. I mean,
was that Harvest Moon?
It was 93. It was like it was his greatest hits kind of thing, really. He just sat down with an acoustic guitar and sang all these songs, and it blew my, because I'd never really been. I'd heard Live Rust, you know, and so that was my introduction to him, and I've got all his stuff now. What track are we going to play off this?
It's a track off their album Enemy of the Enemy, which is brilliant. It's a track called Basta. And it's the thing I like about it. They've got a brass section in there. It's got a bit of It's kind of got the joy that I was talking about, and it's a bit of a departure for them as well, I think. And I've been sort of banging there. I hope I haven't been annoying them by saying how much I love the bits on the album when they take a bit of departure and go off on different musical ground, and this is one of them.
What news for them, do you think? Do you think they could go massive, as big as you guys?
I think that in the UK, I think they have a problem with the UK, and there is much. But I think when we were in France, it was like a double header.
That's the one question I want to ask you. What was it like playing that amphitheatre in France? The atmosphere must have been what?
It was mad, because it's a place which is it's obviously 2,000 years old, and the first half an hour you're playing, and it's a bit weird. And it's kind of like, man, this is strange, and you go like, you don't want to impose your kind of ego all over it. It's kind of like you have to, I know this might sound a bit strange, but you have to sort of go with the flow, and you have to almost be you sort of have to remember what's been going on in this venue, for 2,000 years. You have to pay your dues, really. And once you do that, you sort of mentally pay your dues, and you go, okay, it was amazing. It was amazing.
All right, this is the Asian Dub Foundation. This is Basta. Before we play it, though, thanks for talking to us, Ed. Remember, we've got all the members of Radiohead choosing tracks throughout the week on 6 Music, so keep listening. Christmas is not an excuse to neglect your radio. This is the Asian Dub Foundation. This is Basta.